Today we're here to talk about tape backup methods. Remember, your data is one of your most valuable assets. Now, for instance, you can always tell when your data needs to be backed up, or maybe you can't tell, but your computer can tell because of the archive bit. The archive bit indicates whether a file needs to be backed up. If there is a 1 in the archive bit, the file must be backed up. If there's a 0 in the archive bit, then it has been backed up. This slide shows file attributes in Windows and MS-DOS. The R indicates whether a file is read-only. The A is the archive bit and indicates whether a file needs to be backed up or has been backed up since it was created or changed. The S stands for System, and the H stands for Hidden. There are three main methods of tape backup. Remember, you can combine any two of them for your backup strategy. You can't use all three at the same time, though. The full backup backs up all the files and marks them as being backed up by clearing the archive bit. Everybody should do a full backup as their first step in their backup process. After a full backup, you need to choose whether to use an incremental or differential backup to back up the files that were created or changed between the full backups. The incremental backup backs up all the files created or changed since the last full or incremental backup, and it marks the files as having been backed up by clearing the archive bit. Whereas the differential backup backs up all the files that have been created or changed since the last full backup, but does not mark the files as backed up. In other words, it doesn't affect the archive bit at all. Both incremental and differential methods allow you to find and restore individual files. However, your strategy will vary depending on whether you chose to use the incremental or differential methods. If you use the incremental method, you'll save a lot of time when you first back up your files because the incremental method will only back up files that are created or changed since the last full or incremental backup. In other words, there's less files. However, it'll take longer to restore the files because you'll have to first restore the entire full backup, and then you would have to restore every single one of the incremental backup tapes in the correct order. Whereas with the differential backup, each night your tape will get longer and there'll be more files to back up since they haven't marked the archive bit. However, when you go to restore those files, it will take less time because you will only have to restore first the full backup and then the very last incremental, or rather differential backup tape. Regardless of the backup method that you choose, you should make two sets of tapes and store one of the sets of tapes off-site. You should test the system by backing up and restoring files to ensure that your tape backup unit is installed and functioning correctly. Create a logbook which shows when the backups were created, the computer you backed up, the tape set number, the files that were backed up, who created the backup, and the location of the backup tapes. Backup should normally be done during periods of low network activity, such as in the evenings and on the weekends. Be sure that your backup strategy is carefully planned, implemented, and documented to safeguard your valuable data.